The auction room was cold and dark. Strange lights flashed on the walls. The air smelled of metal, oil, and fear. Alien voices echoed through the hall, laughing, shouting, bargaining. It was a market, but not a normal one. This was a black auction here. Living beings were sold like objects. A small alien girl stood in a cage at the center of the room. She had purple skin, silver eyes, and long dark hair that fell to her shoulders. Chains were tied to her hands and feet. She looked no older than 14 in human years. Her body shook, and her eyes were full of fear. She had not spoken in days. The auctioneer, a tall lizard-like creature with golden teeth, stepped forward and raised his voice. Next item. Rare breed, strong DNA, beautiful and untouched. Bidding starts now. The crowd roared. Aliens, of all shapes and colors, gathered near. Some had long necks. Others had sharp tails. Many of them licked their lips or whispered to each other. They were not here to give her a home. They were here to use her. 5,000 credits, 10,000, 15,000. The numbers rose quickly. The girl closed her eyes. She had been taken from her home planet months ago. She didn't remember her family anymore. Only the fear stayed. Suddenly, the room fell silent. A calm voice spoke from the shadows. 100,000 credits. Heads turned. The crowd parted slowly. A human stood at the back of the room. He was tall, wearing a long black coat. His face was hard, serious. His eyes were deep and tired, like someone who had seen too much. His hair was short, with a few gray strands near the sides. A thin scar ran across his left cheek. The auctioneer narrowed his eyes. A human. What is a human doing here? The man stepped forward. His boots echoed on the metal floor. I'm placing a bid, he said simply. The crowd whispered. No human had ever been seen in this kind of place. Most humans avoided black markets. The auctioneer laughed. Do you even know what this one is for? She's not for cooking or cleaning. She's for pleasure. The human's eyes turned cold. Know exactly what she is, he replied. Another alien called out. Why pay so much? She's just a toy, a plaything. The human looked at him for a moment, then looked back at the girl. She's not a toy. She's a child. The auctioneer shrugged. Fine. The bid is 100,000. Anyone else? Silence. Sold. The gate opened. The girl didn't move. She had no strength left. Her body was ready for pain, but the man didn't grab her. He didn't chain her again. Instead, he knelt down beside her and spoke softly. You're safe now. She looked up at him, her eyes wide. Then he said something no one had ever said to her. No one touches you, unless you want it. The girl stared. She didn't speak. Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. She didn't know how to believe. Him, could anyone be kind? Could a stranger, a human, be telling the truth? He gently took off her wrist chains. She flinched. I won't hurt you, he said again. My name is John. She said nothing. He took off his coat and wrapped it around her. Then, slowly, he lifted her in his arms. She was light, like she hadn't eaten in days. As they walked out, the crowd stared, confused. Some laughed, some mocked him. Wasting your money. She's broken. But John didn't answer. He just walked. Outside, his ship was waiting. It was small, old, but fast. He placed the girl gently on a bed inside. She looked around, afraid, but the bed was soft. The lights were warm. There were no chains here. John brought a bowl of food and placed it in front of her. Eat, then sleep. We'll talk later. Still, she said nothing. But after a few minutes, she ate slowly, carefully, as if it might be poison. John sat across the room, watching, but not staring. He checked his weapon and typed on a small device. His eyes kept going to her, not with desire, but concern. Outside, in the dark corners of space, someone was watching. The girl had not just been a slave. She had been property of someone dangerous. And now, that someone would come looking. But John didn't care. He had saved one life, and he would protect her with his life if needed. The girl didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in her life, she felt something strange. The girl woke up to the soft hum of the ship. It was warm inside. She was wrapped in a blanket. Her body no longer cold, her skin no longer bruised. For a few seconds, she forgot where she was. Then, it all came back. The auction, the fear, the human. She sat up quickly, looking around. John was in the corner, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. He was awake, but not moving. His eyes were open, watching her, not with force, not with control, but like someone waiting for a wild animal to feel safe. You slept for 10 hours, he said. His voice was calm, deep, and quiet. She didn't reply. Her silver eyes were sharp now, not scared, just suspicious. He pointed at a small tray beside her bed. Food, water, clean clothes. You can shower if you want. She didn't move. He smiled, just a little. It's okay. I'm not going to touch you. Still, she stayed still. Her fingers slowly reached for the food. He looked away to give her space. For a few minutes, there was silence. Only the sound of her eating careful, slow bites. Finally, she spoke. Just one word. Why? John looked back at her. Why? What? Help me. He took a breath. Because I saw someone once. A girl. Not so different from you. No one helped her. I was too late. I promised myself. Next time, I won't be late. She looked at him closely. She died. He nodded. Yes. The girl said nothing more, but she ate a little faster. Later, she walked into the small ship's cockpit. John was there, flying manually. The stars passed by in long, bright streaks. It was quiet, a strange kind of peace. He didn't turn around. You don't need permission to walk around. You're not a prisoner. I was, she whispered. I know. She sat in the seat beside him, still wrapped in the blanket. Your name? He asked Dot. She hesitated. Kyra. Kyra, he repeated gently. Beautiful name. She looked down. My people are gone. My planet burned. He glanced at her. I'm sorry. She turned her face toward the stars. The slavers took many of us, the children, the weak. They said we were valuable. They made us slaves, toys. John gripped the controls tighter, his jaw clenched. I've seen it before. Too many times. Why don't humans stop it? She asked. John sighed. Many humans don't even know. Some are too afraid. Others just don't care. But you do. I do. A sudden alarm beeped. John pressed a few buttons. A red warning flashed on the screen. Trouble? Kyra asked. Alert. Looks like it. John muttered. Ship. Following us, no ID. Probably bounty hunters. Her eyes widened. They're coming for me. Yes. You're expensive property to the wrong kind of people. He stood and opened a hidden compartment. Inside were weapons. Clean. Powerful. Human-made. Kyra backed away slightly. John noticed. I won't use these on you. I'll use them for you. She watched him as he checked a rifle, loaded it, then placed it beside the pilot's seat. You fight? She asked. I survive, he said. And protect. You're a soldier. Used to be. What kind? The kind that stops monsters. Until the monsters started wearing nice suits and calling themselves leaders. She didn't fully understand, but she nodded. Get strapped in, he said. If things get bad, there's a button under your seat. Press it. You'll be safe in the escape pod. And you? He smiled a sad, tired smile. I don't need a pod. I've lived enough lives. She didn't like that answer. The enemy ship drew closer. Kyra felt her heart beat faster. Not because she was scared of John, but because she was scared for him. He was just one man. How could he fight a ship full of hunters? John didn't panic. He moved like someone who had done this before. Charging pulse cannon, he muttered. Just like old times. Kyra stared at him. You're not afraid. He looked at her. Of dying? No. Of failing you? Yes. For a second, she felt warmth in her chest. A strange feeling. She didn't know the word for it, but it was the opposite of fear. The enemy ship fired. John's ship shook violently. Sparks flying. Hold on, he shouted. He spun the ship, dodged a second blast, and fired back. Kyra closed her eyes. She didn't press the button. She wanted to believe in him. She needed to believe in someone. The ship rocked again. Then silence. John checked the screen. We hit their core. They're floating now, dead in space. Kyra opened her eyes slowly. You won. I don't like to lose, he said, catching his breath. She looked at him, a human who bought her, and never touched her. Not once. You saved me, she whispered. He turned toward her, and this time, his voice was softer. Double quotes. No. I gave you a choice. Saving yourself. That's your power. She didn't smile, but something inside her heart did. She was still afraid. Still unsure, but she was not alone. Not anymore. The stars outside the ship were calm, but inside, tension was growing. Kyra sat in the co-pilot seat, hugging her knees. John was checking damage from the last fight. His tools clanked softly, but he said nothing. The silence felt heavier than the noise of space. Finally, she spoke. They will come again. John didn't look up. I know. They want me back. I know that too. Then why do you keep me here? You could drop me on some station. Be free. He paused, wiped oil from his hands, then looked at her. Freedom doesn't mean running alone. It means standing your ground. With someone who won't let you fall. Kyra looked away. His words touched something in her, something soft, almost forgotten. But peace didn't last long. Suddenly, the alarm blared again. A sharp red light flashed in the cockpit. John ran to the control panel and read the screen. Tracker, he muttered. They planted one. Somewhere on you or your clothes. Kyra froze. I didn't know. I believe you. His voice was firm, not angry. But we have 10 minutes. Maybe less. He grabbed a small scanner and walked over to her. I need to check. She hesitated. Will it hurt? No. She nodded, and he scanned her carefully. Hands, arms, neck, back. Nothing. Then, he stopped near her left ankle. The device beeped. There, she looked down. A small black dot, almost invisible, was under her skin. Her eyes widened. They branded me. Like property. John reached for his laser tool. I can take it out. It'll sting, but you'll be free of it. She didn't flinch. Do it. A short flash of pain. She hissed, but didn't scream. John crushed the tracker under his boot and threw the remains into the disposal chute. We need to jump before they arrive, he said, running back to the cockpit. He flipped switches quickly. The ship groaned as the hyperdrive powered up. But then too late. The radar blinked. Not one, but 4 ships were closing in. Kyra's breath caught. They surrounded us. John's hands tightened on the controls. They don't want to fight. They want you alive. What if they take me? They won't. She turned to him, voice shaking. You can't fight for ships. I don't need to fight them, he said, reaching under the seat. He pulled out a small black cube and tossed it to her. I need to distract them. What is this? A signal scrambler. You'll take the escape pod. No, she shouted. You said. I said no one touches you unless you want it. And I meant it. But John looked at her, face serious but kind. This is your choice. I can't force you. But if you stay, I might not protect you next time. Kyra stared at the cube. Her hands shook. Then something inside her hardened. No, she said. I stay. Kyra, no, she shouted louder. They took my voice, my freedom, my family. I won't let them take you for a second. John didn't respond. Then, he smiled. Okay then, he said. Let's give them hell. The ships outside began to broadcast. Surrender the girl, human. You have no chance. John turned. On the speakers. She's not yours. She is ours by law. She is hers by right. John replied. Come and try. They came. Blasters fired across the empty dark. John flew low between 2 asteroids, dodging shots. Kyra sat behind him, strapping herself in. Her hands glowed slightly, a power inside her starting to wake. John noticed. You have energy. I think. It's my people's gift. I never tried to use it before. Well, John said, banking left hard. Now's a good time to try. One of the enemy ships came in too close. Ready? John asked. Kyra nodded. She closed her eyes. Her skin shimmered. She lifted her hand toward the screen and released a sharp pulse of blue light. The enemy ship shook violently. It's down, John shouted. She gasped, shocked by her own power. 2 more incoming. John launched a flare to blind their senses. Kyra focused again, this time with more control. Another pulse. Another ship down. 1 remained. This one was larger, heavily armed, probably the boss. John armed the last missile. 1 shot, but the ship blocked it with a shield. Then, a voice crackled through the com. Give us the girl, and we'll let you live. Kyra stood beside John, eyes glowing. You want me? The alien voice paused. Yes, she took a deep breath, and spoke into the com herself. Then come take me. And with that, she released her strongest blast, a wave of light so bright it cut through the shield. John fired the missile. Boom! The last ship exploded in flames. Silence returned. John let out a long breath. Nice work. Kyra collapsed into her seat. My head hurts. Rest. You've earned it. She looked at him, half smiling. Told you I'd stay. John nodded. I'm glad you did. As they flew into quiet space again, Kyra whispered, almost to herself, I'm done running. The ship floated quietly in deep space. Stars blinked in the distance, cold and calm. Inside, things were different. Inside, a storm was building, not outside the hull. but inside Kyra's heart. She sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at the floor. For the first time, she wasn't chained. She wasn't hiding. She wasn't running. And still, she couldn't breathe fully. John was in the cockpit, fixing wires. The last battle had damaged one of the shields. His hands moved with skill, but his mind stayed on Kyra. He could feel her silence like a shadow behind him. After a while, she stepped into the cockpit, quietly, slowly. John didn't turn, but he knew. Couldn't sleep, he asked. No, she said. Her voice was low, almost unsure. Same here. They sat in silence for a few seconds. No alarms, no chase, just space. Kyra finally spoke. Do you ever feel broken? John paused. Yes. She nodded, looking down at her hands. Even when I'm safe, I feel like something's wrong. Like I'm not real anymore. You are real, Kyra, John said softly. You survived what was meant to destroy you. She didn't respond. Her eyes filled with water, but no tears fell. Do you hate them? She asked. Who? The ones who did this. Who sold me? Who took my world? John leaned back in his seat. Hate is heavy. I've carried it. For years, it eats you from the inside. Kyra looked at him. Then what do I do with all this pain? He finally turned to her. You turn it into strength. You don't let them write the end of your story. Later that day, John took Kyra to the back of the ship. This, he said, opening a hidden panel, is the training room. Tiny, I know, but it's all I've got. The room was simple. A padded floor, a few old weapons, and a mirror. Kyra stepped inside, unsure. You're not weak, John said. You proved that when you blasted 2 ships. That was luck. That was you. I've seen soldiers with less courage. She looked in the mirror. The girl looking back had scars. Her skin was pale, her eyes tired. But there was something else to power. It was hiding, but it was there. John handed her a wooden stick. Let's start small. She held it awkwardly. Try to hit me, he said. Kyra blinked. What? Come on, hit me. I won't hit back. She hesitated, then swung. He blocked icily again. She tried harder. He dodged again. This time, her swing was fast, angry, filled with something wild. John caught the stick midair. Her hands shook. He nodded. Good, now breathe. She breathed. Again. And again her movements became smoother. Her mind clearer. She didn't know what it was, but it felt right. That night, John cooked something warm. Kyra sat across the table. Between bites, she asked, How did you lose your sister? John stopped eating. She was taken. Like you, I was off too far. By the time I returned, it was too late. I'm sorry. She was the kindest person I knew. She helped everyone. She never fought. She believed people could change. Could they? John looked at her, pain behind his eyes. Not the ones who took her, but maybe the ones who survive. Maybe they can become something new. Suddenly, a soft ping echoed from the control panel. John stood and checked it. Kyra followed. It's a message, he said. Encrypted. From who? Don't know. Old Earth code. He opened it. A face appeared. A woman, rough voice, robotic arm, sharp eyes. John, she said, you still breathing? Good, we got news. Slavers moved to Sector 9. We found survivors. One of them matches the girl's species. If she's one of yours, you better come quick. The message ended. Kyra's heart skipped. Survivors, she whispered. John looked at her. We'll go, but what if it's a trap? Then we fight. She nodded slowly. I want to see. I have to know. John placed a hand on her shoulder. You're not alone in this. As they prepared for departure, Kyra stood at the ship window. She remembered her parents' faces, blurry now, like fog in a dream. She remembered the screams, the chains, the endless dark. And now she remembered something else. A hand reaching out, a voice saying, You're safe now. A choice given. Trust offered. Kyra closed her eyes. She didn't trust easily. She may never trust the world again. But John was different. Maybe, just maybe, she could trust him. Not because he saved her, but because he let her save herself. The planet was dusty and dry, hidden inside a dying star system. From space, it looked empty, just rocks and ruins. But deep under the surface, life moved in the shadows. John's ship landed quietly near a cracked mountain range. No lights, no signals, just a dark cave, half covered by stone. Kyra followed John closely. Her steps were light, but her heart beat fast. Are you sure this is safe? She whispered. No, John said. but it's necessary. They walked into the cave. Cold air surrounded them. After a few minutes, a red light scanned their faces. Then the wall in front of them moved, sliding open with a hiss. Inside, a hidden base came alive. Dozens of people stood in the open space. Humans, aliens, hybrids. Some were armed. Some looked injured. All had one thing in common. They had survived. A tall woman with metal arms and a burned face stepped forward. Kyra recognized her. The one from the message. "John," she said. "You're late." "Brought someone," John replied. Kyra stepped forward carefully. "This is Kyra. She's one of the taken." The woman studied her, eyes sharp. "She's young. She's strong," John added, "and angry." The woman smiled slightly. "Good. We need both." They walked Kyra through the base. There were sleeping quarters, supply rooms, and an old training hall with cracked tiles. People nodded at her, but didn't smile. "Who are they?" Kyra asked. "Freedom fighters," John said. "Slaves, soldiers, wanderers. All lost something. All decided to fight back. Is this the resistance?" He nodded. "It's not big. It's not pretty. But it's real." Kyra looked around. "Do they know who I am?" "They will," John said. "You're not just someone rescued. You're someone who can rescue others." Later, in the training hall, Kyra was handed a small, round device. "This is a focus crystal," the trainer said. He was an old alien with pale skin and no eyes, but he moved like he saw everything. "It helps control inner energy." Kyra held the crystal. It vibrated in her hand, warm and alive. "Try to connect," he said. She closed her eyes. Her mind swirled with memories, pain, chains, cold ships. But then, she focused on the feeling of standing beside John. The light, the strength, a spark lit. Inside the crystal, it glowed blue. The trainer smiled. "Very rare. Your power is not only strong, it's pure." Kyra opened her eyes, breath shaking. "Can I really use this?" "With training," the trainer said. "With time." That night, Kyra sat near a fire with John. Others were sleeping, resting, or cleaning weapons. John sharpened a blade slowly. Kyra stared at the flames. "I met another girl today. Her name was Liana. She said she knew my people. She spoke our language. She said my mother might still be alive." John stopped sharpening. "Do you believe her?" "I want to, but I'm afraid." "Of what?" "That I'll hope too much and fall again." John looked into the fire. "Hope is dangerous, but it's also the only thing that keeps you alive." "Sometimes," she nodded slowly. "Do you ever wish you could forget everything?" she asked. "No," John said. "I want to remember. Even the pain. That's how I know I'm still human." Kyra looked at him. "I'm not human." "You're more human than most I've met," he said quietly. The next day, a mission was planned. A slaver ship was spotted near a moon station. Rumors said it carried dozens of prisoners, some of them children. Kyra insisted on joining you. "Not ready," John warned. "I have to be," she replied. She trained harder than anyone that day, fighting dummies, controlling her energy, focusing the crystal. She fell, got up, fell again. Then finally, she hit the target with a perfect pulse. Blast out. The training room cheered. Kyra didn't smile. She just said, "I'm going." They moved in teams. John and Kyra went together. So did Liana and 2 rebels. They reached the slaver ship at midnight. Hiding behind fuel tanks, John gave Kyra a communicator. "You go left. Free the prisoners. I'll cover the front. Don't die," she said. "I'll try," he replied with a grin. She moved silently through the halls. Guards patrolled with weapons, but she was faster. In the holding bay. She saw them. Cages. Children. Her people. She ran forward. "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help." They stared at her, some scared, some too weak to react. She touched the lock with her crystal focused. A bright pulse. Click. The cage door fell open. Back at the front, John was fighting hard. 2 slavers jumped him at once. He took them down, but a blade cut his arm. Kyra appeared behind them. Her eyes glowed. She raised both hands, and a shock wave knocked the last slaver into the wall. John looked at her, bleeding. She helped him. "Stand. You're late," he said. "You started early." They flew the rescued children back to the resistance base. Some cried, some laughed. One little girl grabbed Kyra's hand and wouldn't let go. Kyra held her tightly. "You're safe now," she whispered. And for the first time in a long time, she believed it. The moon was cold. Its light cast long shadows across the ruins of the old trade port. Broken towers stood like skeletons. silent and empty. But deep inside, a new kind of darkness lived. The resistance had found the slavers. Hidden outpost, a small station used for processing prisoners before they were shipped off to buyers. Kyra volunteered for the mission. She didn't ask permission. She simply said, "I need to go." John watched her with quiet eyes. He knew this mission was more than strategy. It was personal. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked. Kyra nodded. "I don't want to run anymore." John handed her a pulse blade. "Then walk forward. But remember, don't let your anger decide who you become." They landed at night. 3 resistance teams moved in from different tunnels. Kyra and John took the east path, tight, narrow, and dark. Kyra moved like a shadow. Her training had changed her. Her body was stronger, her energy more focused. But her heart, that was still learning. As they reached the lower level, Kyra stopped. She knew this place. The walls, the smell, the sound of chains in the distance. "This is where I was kept," she whispered. John put a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to do this alone." She didn't answer. She was already walking. The door opened with a hiss. Inside, a large alien sat at a metal desk, counting credit chips. He was fat, covered in gold rings, with pale gray skin and yellow eyes. Kyra froze. It was him, the one who bought her first. Before the auction. Before John. His name was Vars. He looked up, slowly, then smiled. "Well," he said, licking his teeth. "The little toy returns." Kyra stepped into the room, blade in hand. "No one owns me now." He stood, unimpressed. "You look different, stronger, but you'll always be what you were, made for." John stepped beside her, gun aimed at Vars. But Kyra raised a hand. "No," she said. "This is my choice." Vars laughed. "What will you do, girl? Kill me?" "That won't change what happened." Kyra's eyes glowed. Her hand burned with energy. The air around her shimmered. She raised her blade, but John's voice cut through the silence. "Kyra." She didn't look back. "Don't let him decide what you become," John said gently. "He already took your past. Don't let him take your future." Her hands trembled. "I want him to hurt," she whispered. "I know," John said. "But you are not him. You are more." She looked at Vars, a creature who never knew fear, never cared who he broke. And suddenly, she saw it. He was nothing. Just a coward hiding behind cruelty. Her blade lowered. "I'm not going to kill you," she said. Vars smirked. "Weak." John stepped forward and stunned him with a shock bolt. "No," he said, dragging Vars out. "That's mercy." Back at the ship, the resistance loaded rescued prisoners, almost 50 of them. Many were silent. Some cried when Kyra spoke their language. A few hugged her without words. She stayed with them until everyone was safe. Then she sat outside the ship, staring at the stars. John walked over, arm wrapped in a bandage. "You did the right thing," he said. "I wanted to hate him. I still do. That's human." "I'm not human," she said again. John sat beside her. "No, you're something more. You had every reason to kill him. And still, you chose not to." She looked at her hands. "I didn't do it for him." "Then why?" She smiled just slightly. "For me." Back at the base, the celebration was quiet but meaningful. The children played. The wounded were treated. The air felt lighter than before. The woman with the metal arms approached Kyra. "You've done more in weeks than most do in years," she said. "The resistance wants you to lead the next mission." Kyra looked surprised. "Me? You're not just a survivor anymore," the woman said. "You're an example." Kyra looked at John from across the room. He nodded proudly. She turned back. "I'll do it." That night, she stood alone under the stars. Not to run, not to hide, but to think. She closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer. Not for revenge, not for power, but for peace. For herself, and for all those still waiting to be free. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was larger than any place Kyra had ever seen. Its walls were made of white crystal. The ceiling shimmered like starlight. Hundreds of delegates sat in silence. Humans, aliens, hybrids, each waiting for her to speak. She stood at the center, small but unshaken. A simple robe covered her scars. Her voice would carry not just across the room, but across the galaxy. John stood at the edge of the crowd, arms folded, watching her with quiet pride. Kyra took a breath. Her hands no longer shook. "My name is Kyra," she began, her voice steady. "I was born on a world that no longer exists. I was taken as a child, sold, owned, used." Whispers echoed across the chamber. "I was treated like property, stripped of name, family, and future." For years, I believed that no one cared, that I was invisible. She paused, her eyes scanning the room. But one day, a human walked into my cage. He didn't look like a hero. He didn't say many words. He just looked at me and said, "No one touches you unless you want it." John looked down, swallowing a deep breath. Kyra continued, "That one sentence gave me something no chain could break. Choice. And choice led me to power." She raised her hand, showing the glowing crystal that now rested on a silver bracelet. It pulsed with her inner light. "I am not a slave anymore. I am not afraid. I am not alone." The speech was broadcast across dozens of systems. In slums, workers stopped to watch. In prisons, the weak whispered her name. In ships, rebels raised their fists. John stood beside her when she finished. He didn't say much. He never needed to. The council passed a motion to shut down known slave trade routes. For the first time in generations, voices were listening. But Kyra knew the work was far from over. Back at the resistance base, the celebration was quiet. Kyra walked through the halls, now filled with new faces, rescued children, former slaves, new recruits. They looked at her differently now, not just as a fighter, but as a leader. She found John in the ship bay, working on his old vessel. "You're leaving?" she asked. He looked up surprised. "Just fixing her up." "You always fix something when you're thinking too much." John gave a crooked smile. Old habit. Kyra sat beside him. "You don't have to stay, John," he nodded. "I know." Silence passed between them, soft and full. "You came into my life when I was broken," she said. "You didn't fix me, but you gave me the tools to fix myself." "I didn't save you," John replied. "You saved yourself. I just opened the door." "And you stayed," she added. "I always stay for the good ones." Kyra smiled. "Then stay a little longer." Weeks passed. The resistance grew. More planets joined. More survivors spoke up. Raids were launched. Prisons were broken. Chains fell. Kyra led many of them. She wore no crown. She held no title. But when she walked, people followed. Her power wasn't just in her energy. It was in her voice, in her story. One day, while scouting a deep sector, a message came in. A planet. Ruins. Survivors. Kira's people. She flew there alone. What she found wasn't much. Just a few broken homes. A few weak elders. But when she spoke her name, one of them wept. "Your mother. She waited for you," the woman said. "She believed you were alive." Kyra knelt beside her, touched her hand. "I am," she whispered. Back on the base, she lit a small candle for her family, for those lost and those found. John joined her. "Knew you'd find your way," he said. "I didn't just find my way," she replied. "I made it." On her final mission, before the season turned, Kyra stood on the same platform where she once stood in chains. Now, she stood tall. A crowd gathered below, thousands. She raised her voice one last time. "Freedom is not a gift someone gives you. It's a truth you take for yourself. They took our names, our homes, our bodies, but they could not take our will." She looked at the stars above. "We are not property. We are not forgotten. We are alive. And we will never go back." The crowd roared. Later, as the sky darkened and quiet returned, Kyra sat on a hill beside John. "Do you ever miss the silence?" she asked. "Sometimes," John said. "But I'd rather hear the sound of people finding their voices." She leaned back on the grass, the stars blinking above. "I used to dream of being free," she whispered. John looked at her. "And now?" "I don't dream anymore," she said. "I live."